Side. First step to another 50. Like he never left. Kyle Schwarber picks up right where he left off. He got it. What a chance. His happy start 2026. Chase Machop with a ball. And Brandon Lau's doing nothing but hit homers as a Pirate. Another moonshot into the gap in right center. It's a 4-hit day for Kevin McGonigal.
You could not have drawn it up any better. Right at the bottom of the zone.
Swing and a miss. He got him. Roche is such an animal. Oh, Trout's covered. That was a mammoth shot. Into the night it goes. New homer night for Chase Delauder. Oh, about that. Has flips the scoreboard with a first-toucher home run. J.J. Weatherholt homers in his debut. Goosebumps right now at Busch Stadium.
There are two kinds of people in this world. Those who love Old Bay, and those who've never tried it. Because once you taste this Chesapeake Bay seasoning, you'll immediately be turned into a canvert. Old Bay goes great on seafood, chicken, corn on the cob, french fries, pretty much anything. Join the Legion of Canverts in America. Pick up a can today. And before you know it, this could be you. Old Bay, the can that connects us.
Ninth, Roberts struck out, and there was one away. San Diego's toughest hitter, Nate Colbert, then came up and bounced an accidental grounder to first. Frank Tepedino made the putout. And Niekro was one out away. And the drama reached its peak when Clarence Gaston hit one to Darrell Evans at third, who throws on to first, locking up Phil Niekro's no-hit game, the first ever for an Atlanta pitcher.
The next 2-2. Davis to left and will hit. Oh my! It's gone! Santa Maria!
From high atop the Robinson Gearing Studio Complex and straight out of God's country, Pawleys Island, South Carolina, the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network proudly presents Backwards K-Pod. And now, here's the host of the show, Jake Robinson.
I never move in slow-mo. Welcome to my dojo. There's other parts of so-so. Chill like pro, yo. Focus like a GoPro. Ripping up this promo. Check out the scoreboard. Bricks up low and no. No, it's going, it's going, it's going. Yo, it's gone. Your heart just stopped. Cause Jake got strong and mighty. Undefeated, I mean it. Pull up the pot, scroll it down, then read it. Written, produced, directed, and mixed. Dong on your lips and I spit backflips. Pick a tip, any tip, get on to it. I got ridiculous pods without forcing it. You sit at home crying like a girl while I spread the gospel around the world. Yo, the pods are written behind tracks that mix it smooth with the groove to make ears wanna listen. Had a little gut and a rhythm to back it up. Another show to my name, now once you stack them up, you take another white rag bag, but this ain't no ad tag. My hobby's the rhymes, some people trying to be black with that. About time I come out, call the show, BKP, now let me turn it out. Yo, name Chief of State 2071. Dates, you know what time it is, I'm packing them guns. New experience, I've been a witness to glory, and that's why I collect ball players and their stories. You heard? So, once again, back is the incredible, the pod animal, Jake the Snake Robinson from the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network. I'm coming out of Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Half man, half podcast machine, back in the Captain Kirk chair, shields down, photons up. Prepare to engage on this week's digital audio program that I call Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. What's up, you cement nerds? What's cracking? Welcome back into the dojo for chapter 198 in the autobiographical, anthological, and historical counting of the players, characters, managers, stadiums, and all the pop culture references that have shaped our perspective and knowledge about this beautiful tapestry of life that we call baseball. I'm Jake Robinson. I got your hookup. Holler if you hear me. I'm joined as usual in the complex today with my trusty comrade, the chocolate tabby of tenaciousness, my best friend, my little number one stunner gunner, chilling like a villain in the conductor's booth of our BKP time travel chit show, sipping on catnip-infused chamomile tea, chomping at the bit to get us down the track for this week's baseball adventure. So, if I could get all of you stragglers hanging out on the platform here at Terrapin Station to kiss and hug your loved ones goodbye, I can begin the final prep for departure. It's a beautiful night for baseball as the sights and sounds of the national pastime overwhelms our senses. I look to the west of Terrapin and I can see clearly into our immaculately manicured jewel box retro ball yard down that left field line that disappears around home plate as our hometown boys, the BKP 9, have taken the field in anticipation of tonight's contest. Our starting pitcher has completed his warm-up tosses. He looks ready to rock. Our catcher has gone down to second base with an absolute seed on the bag. The infielder's now throwing that rock around the diamond with a little snap and swagger. And the home plate umpire has cleaned off the dish, raised his mask, and said those two magical words that reverberate throughout baseball fields all around the globe during the summer months: play ball. As the visiting team's leadoff stick approaches the dish to get this game started, that's my cue to get this show down the track. I'm calling all aboard as I will have Gunner set our time and destination this week for April 1st, 1939, Blaine, Ohio, for the genesis backstory of this week's profile dig into the greatest knuckleball pitcher who ever lived, the great Phil Niekro. So, hurry, step right up, get in where you fit in, climb aboard our modern marvel of science and engineering. You can post up in our expansive lounge or find yourself a private boxcar to reside in for the trip ahead to Blaine, Ohio, in the year of our Lord, 1939, for the start of this week's journey. As Gunner has us flat out on the throttle, desperately trying to pick up the necessary quantum speeds needed to crack 6.0 gigahertz of RF on our spectrum analyzer, creating vast, anomalous, traversable wormholes, tilting the celestial scales in our favor, blurring the lines of time and space, all in an effort to take us back safely to the genesis backstory of this week's biopic on Phil Niekro. Now, legendary baseball funnyman, former Major League catcher Bob Uecker once quipped that the best way to catch a knuckleball is to wait for the ball to stop rolling and then pick it up. What? He also said that catching Phil Niekro's knuckleball was a great experience. It gave him the chance to meet all the important people sitting behind home plate watching the game. Phil Niekro, or Knucksie as he was affectionately called by his teammates and opponents, rode his knuckleball pitch to a 24-year big league career, 318 wins, 3,342 strikeouts, 5,404 innings pitched, the most innings amassed by any pitcher in the live ball era. And while doing this, he confounded and perplexed the best hitters in the world into the world's most awkward swings you'll ever see. Those final stats are made amazing by the fact that Niekro was the ultimate late bloomer in his playing career. Amazingly, he didn't win his 100th game till his age 34 season in 1972. 9 years into his major league career, and he only had 596 strikeouts to his credit at the age of 30. After his breakout 1969 season that saw him go 23-13 with a 2.56 ERA, he averaged 15.9 victories a year for the last 18 years of his career. He was a rubber-armed, ageless wonder, winning 120 games after his age 40 season, the most wins by a pitcher after the age of 40 years old. The master of the knuckleball, he always kept his poise out on the bump and never seemed to knuckle under the pressure. Pardon the pun. He had an easygoing personality, letting nothing rattle him on his journey to become one of the game's premier hurlers during his era. And he had a very simple philosophy that he adhered to throughout his big league career. Number one, you have to realize that you can't always control adversity when it happens to you. Number two, what you can control is how you react to what's happening to you. And last but not least, you have to be able to accept losses without feeling defeated. Baseball is a game of failure. You have to compartmentalize his losses and use those bad feelings as motivation for your next start. And Bill always was the same person. He stayed grounded, never took himself too seriously. And as a result of his easygoing attitude and his paralyzing knuckleball dancing its way to the plate, or as Dodgers outfielder Rick Monday once claimed, it giggles at you as it flutters past you in the strike zone. He would become one of only 19 pitchers in Major League history to amass 300-plus wins. And, you know, with the way the game is played today with the bullpens, and it's really hard for players to amass 300 wins now. I mean, they're few and far between. The symbol of both his success and longevity would be his butterfly knuckler, baffling not only hitters and his catcher, but also many times himself, as he would be the first to admit that, you know, especially when he was younger, he really had no idea where the rotationless pitch is going to end up after it left his right hand 60 feet 6 inches from the dish. He would proudly say that he had a subpar fastball. I never learned how to throw a slider or these newfangled pitches these kids throw nowadays, the cutters and the splitters. I was a one-pitch pitcher. The knuckleball was going to make or break me. And to this day, he is the undisputed king of the knuckleball. Tom Canniotti, who was a notable knuckleball pitcher himself during this era, and was a teammate of Niekro's actually on the 1996 Cleveland Indians team, or 86 Cleveland Indians team, said that talking to Knucksie in the clubhouse was like talking to Thomas Edison about light bulbs. If staying in the majors and building a legacy can be owed to the use of his knuckleball pitch, those very same factors might also explain Niekro's initial difficulty in reaching the majors. Perplexed catchers and managers wary of pass balls and wild pitches were often cited as the reason behind Phil's extended stay in the minors. And he also went through a shitload of catchers while he was down on the farm. The Milwaukee Braves, they signed the kid in 1958, and he didn't break through the farm system until nearly a decade later, through unwavering self-confidence and a blue-collar work ethic, Niekro never gave up on his dream or his bread-and-butter pitch. The knuckleball was all Phil had, and it was all he believed in. And here we are, Seaheads, as Gunner has us tearing through that last traversable wormhole. We find ourselves in Blaine, Ohio, April 1st, 1939, where parents Phil Sr. and Henrietta Niekro are welcoming their second child, their first son, Philip Henry Niekro Jr., into the world. And the Niekros trace their American family lineage back to 1901, when Phil's grandfather, Joseph Niekro, emigrated to America from Slavkow, Polish Russia, with Magdalena Meisker from Bilnau, Polish Russia. And after settling down in West Virginia, Joseph finds work in the local coal mines, and the two are married on February 9th, 1903. His grandfather and grandmother had two daughters, Apollonia and Anna, before they relocate about 75 miles, which is 120 kilometers to the north, to Ohio and the sleepy small town of Blaine. And it was there in Blaine where Joseph and Maggie had their third child and only son, Philip Henry Niekro. And Phil Jr. used to recall how the family name was originally Niekra in Poland, but once the family began to be anglicized into American culture, the A got dropped and an O was added to the end of his last name. Life was not easy for his father in the coal mining town, but it was especially tough for him as both of his parents tragically died before his 5th birthday. But the community rallies around the orphan boy and his two older sisters, looking out for the kids, making sure they attended schools and were well fed and housed. And by the time Phil Sr. is in high school, at the age of 15, he's also holding down a job at the coal mine. Philip Sr. meets, courts, and marries Henrietta Ivy Knucksie, who herself is also an orphan daughter of Polish immigrants. In 1936, the couple had their first child, a daughter they named Phyllis. Shortly soon thereafter, two sons would follow, Philip Henry Jr. and Joseph Franklin. By the early 1940s, the Niekro family was on the move once again, this time to nearby Lawrence, Ohio, which is about 7 miles or 11.27 kilometers west of Wheeling, West Virginia. By now, Phil Niekro Sr. was playing ball in the sandlots of the coal fields in the Miners League, Workers League. And after arm trouble took the bite out of his heavy fastball, a co-worker, a dude by the name of Nick McVeigh, who had spent some time toiling in the miners, showed the ailing pitcher the knuckleball pitch. Now, the arm never regained its strength, so Phil Sr. began throwing the pitch on the regular, and he teaches the specialty pitch to his son, Phil Jr. And the young Phil becomes fascinated with throwing the pitch. And his earliest memories of tinkering with the knuckleball was the lazy afternoons he spent in the backyard pitching to his elder sister, Phyllis. Once his sister got older and began losing interest in playing catcher for a kid brother, his neighbor and best friend, John Havlicek, began to catch Niekro's butterfly pitches in the backyard. And in return, Phil would try to stop John from posting him up in the paint. And Havlicek and Niekro would forge a friendship that would last a lifetime as Phil moved forward with his baseball career, and Havlicek would go on to have a Hall of Fame NBA career with the dynastic Boston Celtics. Upon reflection of his lifelong friendship with the basketball great, Niekro would always say that the only thing that I could ever do better than John as a kid was fish, shoot squirrels, and throw the knuckleball. At Bridgeport High School, Phil played varsity baseball, basketball, and football, but baseball was his true love. Over his 4-year high school career, he goes 17-1 as a pitcher, with the only blemish being a 1-0 loss to Tiltonsville in his freshman year of 1954. And the lone run in that game coming off the bat of future MLB Hall of Famer Bill Mazeroski, who hit the solo shot before he was signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates a few weeks later. Phil was quite the basketball player, as the days of one-on-one competition with his neighbor John honed him into quite the forward. He received full scholarships to play basketball at the University of Detroit and West Virginia University. He was tempted to accept the offers, but the allure of striking out major leaguers with his knuckleball would prove to be his calling. The Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cleveland Indians were the two major league teams closest to him at the time, but they showed very little interest in the right-handed pitcher. Phil would spend the summer after his high school graduation pitching for local teams. The next July, he attended a Milwaukee Braves tryout camp in nearby Bel Air, Ohio. Brave scout Bill Mullen was impressed enough to offer Phil a contract for $275 a month. And my father tells Mr. Mullen that, yeah, it's nice that you want my son to play professional baseball for you, but before he does, we need to sit down and make a deal. So after aggressive negotiations by his father, the Braves reward Phil with a $500 signing bonus attached to the monthly salary of $275. And despite winning over 300 games and striking out 3,000 batters, the All-Star Game appearances and Gold Gloves, Niekro's greatest baseball thrill was sitting in his childhood kitchen with his mom, dad, sister, and brother, signing his first Major League Baseball contract, recalling that July 19, 1958 was the day I became a professional baseball player. The Braves waited until the next spring to have Niekro report, and they ship him out to a Class D team in Wellsville, New York, where he gets into 10 games, but his work there is mediocre, unimpressive. One day, Phil goes to the ballpark early, and he happens to notice a fancy car parked out on Main Street. And he recognizes that whip as belonging to that of a big-time former Major League pitcher, and he thinks to himself, uh-oh, somebody's getting released today. His intuition would be proven to be correct when manager Harry Minor calls Phil into the office and tells him, look, Phil, we just acquired 2 new pitchers today, and we're going to have to let you go. And Phil is sitting in the manager's office, and he's thinking about rules number 2 and 3 of his baseball philosophical mantra. You know, you can control how you react to adversity and never let your losses defeat you. He's in a state of inner turmoil, thinking that he blew his chance and now he's going to end up like his dad, working in those dank, dirty coal mines. And incredulously, he stares back at his manager, and after a few seconds of awkward silence, he finally shoots back, I ain't going, Harry. I need to play. I just need to play. I don't care what I gotta do. I'll shine shoes, I'll cut the grass, clean bases, whatever I gotta do to remain with this club. The manager, Harry Miner, just sits there staring at Phil before a sly grin breaks out across his face. His arm is shit, Miner thinks to himself, but I like the cut of this kid's jib. He's got the guts to stand up to me. Let's keep him around and see what he's got. So instead of cutting Niekro outright, they send him to one of their other Class D clubs, the McCook Braves, in the short season Nebraska League. He makes 23 appearances out of the bully that season, and his work is more polished than the year before. He's walking fewer batters than the year before, and more innings pitched, and lowering his ERA to respectable 3.12 runs per 9 innings. Phil spends the 1963 season a little bit south of Louisville, Kentucky, at nearby Fort Knox, wearing a uniform of the United States Army team. After that, he made the trip to Venezuela to pitch in the Winter Ball League. Niekro arrives in Braves spring training camp in 1954 with 64, with literally no buzz surrounding him, but his performance in camp stands out, and Brave skipper Bobby Bragan makes a choice to add Phil's name to the opening day roster. Knucksie makes his big league debut out at Candlestick Park to take on the San Francisco Giants in the second game of the season out of the bullpen. He records an out, inducing the only batter he faces, Jim Davenport, to ground out weakly to the shortstop and a fielder's choice play at second. In the bottom of the third, and that's going to secure the last out of the inning, an eventual 10-8 loss. And at last, the coal miner's son from Ohio and the grandson of Polish immigrants could call himself a major league pitcher. He ceased regular work out the bully for the next month of the season, but on May 17th, the club sends Niekro back down to AAA Denver with new directives and orders. They tell Phil that they now project him to be a starter in the future, and they need him to ramp up his arm for steady work every 5 days. He finishes a year in Denver, and his 172 innings pitched, which was by far the heaviest workload thus far in his career. After Braves ace Warren Spahn was sold to the Mets during the offseason, Phil has every reason to be optimistic about his chances to crack the 1965 Braves rotation as a starter. But the Braves surprise him when they pivot in their immediate plans for him, and they send Niekro to the bullpen. On May 13th, 1965, at Forbes Field in a game versus the Buccos, Niekro was brought in to start the 5th inning, and he finishes the game while his teammates rally behind him to win the game 5-4. Along with the first Major League win under his belt, he also recorded the first hit of his Major League career that day. 10 days after that first win, Niekro finds himself aboard a United Airlines charter flight from Milwaukee to San Francisco. And that's when his heart is pierced by one of Cupid's arrows. He turns to his good friend, Gene Oliver, and with a glimmer in his eye, he says, "Gino, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to marry that girl right there." And his mark was a girl named Nancy Lee Barron, an attractive flight attendant for United Airlines. And as fate would have it, this particular flight had more crew aboard than what was necessary. So Nancy was informed that she could have the night off. She takes a look around the plane, grabs one of the few seats that are still available on the plane, and it just so happens to be the one next to Phil. So the two sat together on the flight. They played Jim Rummy together. They had a pleasant conversation with one another on this trip. And after the flight, Nancy and Phil both forget to ask each other for their home address and telephone number. But when Nancy got home and told her mom about the wonderful man she met on a flight to San Francisco, Mom encourages her daughter to send Phil a letter in care of the Braves and see what happens. She took her mother's advice and has spent the next 11 months corresponding with one another, rarely seeing each other until halfway through the season. When Phil shows up for spring training in 1966, the Braves had relocated to the offseason from Milwaukee to Atlanta. By Memorial Day, he had only appeared in 13 games with 20 and third innings pitched under his belt, and in early June, he finds himself shipped to the Braves' new AAA team, the Richmond Flying Squirrels in Virginia. He appears in 17 games for Richmond, 4 games as a starter, and he begins to hone in on gaining more control of his knuckleball pitch. In July, the United Airlines workers go on strike. Nancy finds herself in California with no job, so Phil suggests that Nancy catch a one-way train ticket to meet him in Richmond. Meanwhile, back in Atlanta, the Braves are showing minimal improvement. In August, Knucksie is recalled to the show. He shows up at Atlanta Stadium on August 8th, just in time to lock down a save in the 9th inning of a 10-9 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Atlanta Journal newspaper the next day read Niekro, a two-timer. And in the article, Phil jokingly explains that everything in his life nowadays seems to come in pairs. First of all, my wife Nancy and I got married twice over the weekend. We were married for the first time Saturday night, only to be awoken by a phone call Sunday morning by the minister who said he left something out of the ceremony. So he came back to the house and married us again later that afternoon. Then we had to drive 2 cars down here from Richmond because I promised Dick Kelly I'd bring his car into town with me. And tonight, I throw 2 pitches and a win to pick up the save. Now that's one dandy wedding gift, I'll tell you. And it may have been a dandy wedding gift on Phil's end, but the win did nothing for manager Bobby Bragan, who was fired just hours after the win and replaced with coach Billy Hitchcock. But for Knucksie, it would mark the last of his minor league career, and he never looked back. The Braves entered the 1967 season with high hopes and optimism, but after spinning the wheels in quicksand with a 77-85 record, Phil finds himself thrust once again into the starting rotation by the middle of June. It was a breakout season for Phil. He ended the season with 11-9 record, 10 complete games, 207 innings pitched, and a National League best 1.87 ERA. The other big story from the 1967 season in regards to Phil and his family was the fact that his little brother Joe had made the Chicago Cubs roster as a pitcher. Now, the younger brother Joe had a much different profile than that of his knuckleballing big bro. Joe was much bigger than his brother. He relied on heavy fastball, curveball, changeup mix to keep opposing hitters off balance. And it wouldn't be until 1973, when Joe joins his brother in the Braves, that he would take up the knuckleball pitch in earnest. Phil would always consider the 1969 season as his most productive and successful campaign. He appears in 35 games, 40 as a starter. He He amasses a 6.0 WAR out on the bump with a 23-13 record and a 2.56 ERA with 21 complete games to his credit. The Braves as a team followed the lead from the ace knuckleballer and win the brand new NL West division by 3 games over the Frisco Giants before being swept by the upstart New York Mets in the NLCS. Niekro's 23rd and final win that season clinched the division crown for the Braves. He was named to his first National League All-Star team, finished second to Tom Seaver in Cy Young voting, and came in 9th place for league MVP honors. In the July 26th issue of the Sporting News that summer, he was given the nickname Knucksie, and the moniker would follow him throughout his life. The next decade for the Braves was pretty lackluster, with the team only posting winning records in 2 seasons, and really there's only Hank Aaron's pursuit of Babe Ruth's career home run record providing any real national excitement around the team. But 2 events did stand out in the 1973 season for Knucksie. Everything is working on Sunday, August 5th, when Niekro stymies the San Diego Padre offense and routes to a 9-0 no-hitter in his home crib. 2 days later, the Braves pick up his brother Joe off waivers from the Detroit Tigers, and the 2 siblings had often dreamed of playing on the same big league squad, and now their dreams would be realized. The 1977 Atlanta Braves were an absolute shit show, the worst team in the majors, finishing with a 61-101 record, 37 games off the pace of the NL West winning Dodgers. And with Phil's win-loss record suffering from the abysmal play behind him, he falls to a 16-20 win-loss record, with those 20 losses being the most in the National League. Despite the mounting losses on his resume, a deeper dive into Phil's numbers, and you might ask yourself, where the hell would the 77 Braves have been without Knucksie? He finished the 77 campaign with an 8.9 WAR. He leads the National League with 43 starts, 20 complete games, 330 and a third innings pitched, 262 punch-outs, and 1,428 batters faced. After the season, the Braves fire skipper Dave Bristol, and on the short list of replacements was none other than Braves pitcher Phil Niekro. Knucksie remembers how the job was vacated. They were looking for a replacement, so I said, what the hell? And threw my name in the ring for consideration. I knew the players, I knew the system, so why not? Instead, they hand the reins over to Yankees coach and former Braves farmhand Bobby Cox for his first big league managerial gig. From 1977 through 1980, the rubber-armed knuckleballer led the league in games started with 43, 42, 44, and 38. He goes 19-18 for the Braves team that lost 93 games in 1978, but with the 1970 team that finished 66-94, he finishes with a 21-20 record. Even with 20 wins, it was the second 20-loss season for Phil in 3 years. Also, his brother Joe, with the knuckleball now added to his repertoire, had rejuvenated his career in Houston playing for the Astros. He also won 21 games himself that year. So the brothers tie, and they're co-leaders in the league in wins. Phil became the first National League pitcher since 1905 to win and lose 20 games in the same season. Phil Niekro Sr., watching his sons from afar, living vicariously through their accomplishments, summed up their seasons by saying, "I'm so proud of my boys, and I'm glad they don't actually have to work for a living. After a 50 and 56 abbreviated season finish in the 1981 strike-shortened season, Bobby Cox is let go as the field manager, and once again, Phil says what the hell and let it be known that he would love to have the opportunity to manage the ball club. By this time, he and Braves owner Ted Turner had developed a close relationship, and Ted told his ace that one day he'll get a shot to manage the team, but for now, we're going to go in a different direction and hire Joe Torre, a former Braves catcher, as the next manager of the team. And 1982 would be a bittersweet season for Knucksie. A spring training injury puts him on the shelf. He misses the white-hot start by the Braves, who won the first 13 games out the gate. He doesn't make it back to the roster until game 15, and he finishes the campaign with a 17-4 record and a 3.61 ERA. His 810 winning percentage was the best in baseball that year. The Braves passed the Dodgers during the last week of the season to capture the NL West pennant. Down the stretch, Niekro put the team on his back. He throws 2 complete game shutouts down the stretch. His 2-run 8th inning bomb beats the Padres on October 1st. That victory put the Braves up by 1 game over the Dodgers with 2 games remaining on the schedule. And 2 days later, the Braves would clinch the flag on the last day of the season. Phil was penciled in to start Game 1 of the NLCS versus the Cardinals in St. Louis. Unfortunately, the rain began to come down to buckets, and the game was canceled with the Braves up 1-0, 2 outs in the 5th. The next night, the game was replayed, and the Cards win the makeup contest 7-0. Niekro then started Game 2, leaving the game with a 3-2 lead after 6 innings. And upon reflection about his playoff moment in 1982, Phil gets a little agitated, saying, "I was pitching well in St. Louis. I had the Cards right where I wanted them, and Torre decides to pinch hit for me." The Braves would drop the game 4-3 before going back to Atlanta, where the Redbirds on the bat dusted off the Braves for a 3-game sweep. And sadly, it would be Niekro's last postseason chance in a Braves uniform. His record plummets to 11-10 in 1983. His 201 in a third innings pitch were the fewest he had ever had in a full season up to this point. His walks were up, his strikeouts were down, and the sentiment shared by the Braves brass was that the now 44-year-old pitcher had seen his better days, and now's the right time to put the old boy out the pasture. 5 days after the playoff collapse to the Cards in the National League Championship Series, the Atlanta Constitution's headline screamed out, "Niekro's leaving the Braves." Sports editor Jesse Outlaw wrote, "When Torre came back to manage the team, the same team that Niekro would have loved to manage himself, there was always speculation about friction between the two. Even though Niekro resented being pulled in late innings situations, there was never a verbal clash between the two." The next day, Chris Mortensen wrote that Niekro had confirmed that he had been encouraged to retire. He declined the request and was granted the request to put him on waivers for the purposes of giving him an unconditional release. While the decision to politely ask him to retire was unanimous throughout the front office, Niekro acknowledges that a September 25th staff meeting, it was primarily the decision of Torre and his pitching coach, Bob Gibson, to request his retirement. Close friend, owner and longtime booster of Phil, Ted Turner, stepped in and intervened. The two sit in Turner's office, and the owner looks his ace in the eye and says, I want you here on this team, Knucksie. Just tell me you want to pitch for the Braves again, and I will gladly bring you back. And the wise veteran contemplates his future quietly in his mind and reverts back to rules 1 and 2 in his baseball philosophy. You can control the things that happen to you. You can't control the things that happen to you, but you can control how you react to those things that pop up. Sadly, he tells his friend and employer that I can't come back to the Braves under these conditions. It's been a wonderful 24 years of marriage, but now we're divorced and neither one of us is happy. The Braves might want me to retire, but I still got something left in the tank, and I think I can keep going for another season or two. And the Braves fans were outraged watching the franchise throw away Atlanta's first ace pitcher in the city's history, and with most fans citing the lack of trust between the team manager and the staff ace as the reason for Niekro's exile. The prevailing thought being that Joe Torre was an insecure child and he viewed Niekro as a threat to his job security. After all, if he fucked things up worse than he did this year, Phil could always step right in as the team's new skipper. As a whole, the fans seem to agree that even though Knucksie wasn't nearly the pitcher he used to be, he was still the best option the Braves had as a starting pitcher. Years later, Phil would say, I was born a Brave. I wanted to die a Brave. I had my mind set on ending my career in Atlanta. And that was the longest damn day of my life, the most depressing day of my life. But internally, Phil was fired up about the rejection after 21 years of service, and he's convinced he still has 2 or 3 years left, and 300 career wins was it within reach, with him sitting on 268 career dubs. So, with Phil Niekro's baseball career with the Atlanta Braves ending an embarrassing, messy divorce, Knucksie is left to ponder what's next in his baseball career. All he knows is there's still plenty of life left in his rubber arm, and he ain't ready to give up just yet at the ripe young age of 44. And with that, I'm going to draw the curtain on Act 1 of the Phil Niekro bio, pull my Cadillac F1 car to the paddock. I got a little wear and tear, a little graining on these hard compound Pirelli tires. So now seems like a good time to switch them out for a set of salt compounds before heading back out onto the grid to chase down a podium finish with this week's on-air presentation on the life of knuckle-ball extraordinaire Phil Niekro. When I return, we'll pick right off where we left off, going into the 1984 seasons, with questions abound about Knucksie's baseball future after his defection from the Braves. BRB, you freaks. Meet me on the dark side of the moon.
Howdy, y'all. This is Big Tex Gage Geek, executive producer of Backwards K Pod. In Texas, we do everything big. After football and golf, there's probably nothing I love more than going fishing and enjoying a good crawfish boil. The only thing I dislike about going fishing is the lingering odor it can leave on your hands afterwards. Well, the Fish and Hand Cleaner is an all-natural liquid soap perfect for overpowering fish and bait odors from your hands. I can't tell you how many times I've eaten steamed crabs, lobster, shrimp, crawfish, and then washed my hands with regular soap, only to touch my eyes half hour later, and my face begins to melt off due to the damn Cajun Old Bay spices. Well, we also have a hand cleaner specifically formulated to use after eating shellfish and other seafoods. Perfect for cleaning spicy, smelly hands after a Texas-sized seafood feast. In these cases, don't settle for anything less than our crawfish hand cleaner, our crab hand cleaner, or the fish and hand cleaner. An ingenious trifecta of natural hand soaps developed and owned by a disabled Navy veteran. He and Jake have a true connection, as they were boot camp shipmates all the way back in 1989. So he is family, folks, and one thing we do here at the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network is look out for family. So you can support two grassroots companies by two former shipmate Navy vets. Crushing big bowls of shellfish or fishing on the banks of your favorite river while you listen to BKP. Sounds like a great day. You know, in fact, hey Ma, where are my poles? I'm gone fishing. There is also a buffalo wing hand cleaner in development as we speak. To check all of the incredible products of this great company, you can go to www.crawfishhandcleaner.com or call the home offices at 713-588-0290. That's 713-588-0290 to support the grassroots company that supports your grassroots podcast show. That's crawfishhandcleaner.com or 713-588-0290 to prepare for your summertime shellfish feast or that fishing trip you're planning. crawfishhandcleaner.com.
One pitch may be away from win number 300. Historical moment. The Yankees ready to charge out. I hope they don't try to lift Niekro up on their shoulders. At his age, he might fall.
That did it! Holy cow, what a way to end it! A strikeout gets his 300th career win, and I tell you, this is really an exciting moment. In a year that's been filled with exciting moments for the Yankees, the brothers hugging, and I want to tell you, that is really an emotional moment. Phil Niekro is really something. At 47 years of age, I mean, it's unbelievable. By the way, it's his 17th win of the year. He's lost 12. And a shutout for Niekro, a complete game. In an era when complete games are out of the ordinary.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network, and this is Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. And before I balled out like a pair of call-off shorts for some words from our sponsors, I was busy detailing the life and baseball career of one Phil Niekro Jr. Armed with a knuckle-ball pitch that his father taught him as a child, the late-blooming right-hander through perseverance and strong self-belief made his mark on the game, become one of the game's all-time great Braves pitchers. A franchise, let's face it, with a superb lineage of hurlers that stretches back to Cy Young and continues today with superstar ace stud Spencer Strider. I mean, let's face it, next to maybe the Dodgers, probably the greatest pitching tradition in baseball history. In his 21-year career with the Milwaukee and then Atlanta Braves, Niekro confused and bewildered National League batters with his rotationless butterfly pitch, registering an 89.6 WAR, 260 wins against 230 losses, 2,912 strikeouts, and almost 5,000 innings pitched, 226 complete games, 43 shutouts, and a 3.20 ERA. In 1983, the 44-year-old hurler stumbles to an 11-10 record with a 3.97 ERA. The lifelong Brave is unceremoniously shown the door at the end of the campaign after manager Joe Torre and pitching coach Bob Gibson asked him to retire. When Niekro refuses to hang up a spice for good, Ted Turner, looking to derail a public relations disaster, tries to coax the icon into returning to Atlanta for one more year. After careful thought and deliberation, Niekro decides that not only am I not done with my playing career, I'm also not coming back to play for Joe Torre ever again. So, with a sad heart, he accepts his release and prepares to write his acts 2 and 3 of his baseball story that, for the first time ever, is clouded in some uncertainty here. The New York Yankees are interested in acquiring Phil's talent, so they sign him for the upcoming 1984 season. On August 6th of that year, during a Yankees day off, the Braves throw a Phil Niekro Day at Fulton County Stadium, saluting his service with a 40-minute pregame ceremony. The team retired his number 35 for posterity and presented him with a replica of the statue of himself that the team had planned to unveil outside the yard upon its completion. By the end of the 1984 season, the 45-year-old pitcher led the Yankees pitching staff in innings and with wins with 16. And in contrast, the Braves finished under 500 in 1984. Their winningest pitcher that year was Pascual Perez, who registered 14 wins towards their standings, and manager Joe Torre was probably given the boot at the end of the year. He also joined the vaunted 3,000 strikeout club by a major league pitcher when he punches out Texas Rangers slugger Larry Parrish in a 5-0 shutout victory at Arlington Stadium on the 4th of July, becoming only the 9th player in Major League history to reach the 3,000 strikeout plateau. Going into the 1985 season, Knucksie is fixated on the goal of repeating his 16-win total from the year before, and he figures if he could just hit the post with the 16 wins, that will put him at 300 career wins on the button. He won his 15th game of the year and the 299th of his career on September 8th to go 15-9 for the season after beating the Oakland A's 9-6 with 5 more scheduled starts left on the schedule. On September 15th, the Yankees engineer a trade with the Astros to pick up his kid brother Joe. The quest for the elusive 300th win came down to his very last start of the season, with Phil taking the mound at Toronto's Exhibition Stadium to take on the Blue Jays. His thoughts throughout the game were on his childhood hero, his father, who was seriously ill and recovering in a hospital back in Wheeling, West Virginia. The man who had taught him that knuckle-ball pitch all those years ago, the pitch that now had him on the precipice of writing baseball history. And unbeknownst to Phil, Yankees owner George Steinbrenner, pure class, he patched in the play-by-play broadcast through a phone to the hospital room where his mom and dad were staying. Going into the matchup with the Jays, Niekro decides he's going to try something different for once in his career. And he made the conscious choice not to throw his patented knuckler in the game. Instead, depending on pinpoint fastball command and, this little horseshit get me over curveball he had tinkered with in the bullpen in the years past. Today, he was going to prove that he was more than just a gimmick pitcher. And the approach by Knucksie befuddled the Jays lineup all day as they were constantly on the back foot as Phil is painting the corners and frustrating Blue Jays hitters. Niekro was in the zone all day, and before you know it, he had a commanding 8-0 lead in the ninth inning with 2 outs and 2 strikes on slugger Jeff Burrows. As Niekro looks in for the sign from his catcher, he thinks to himself, I can't think of a better way to cap off this win than to do it with that knuckleball pitch that Dad had taught me. So with the smooth, rocking chair delivery, Niekro lets loose with the only knuckleball he threw that day, and the whole stadium is in quiet angst as the slow developing pitch flutters into the zone a second later. The dream was complete as Burrows swings through the pitch for the game-ending strikeout. The grandson of Polish immigrants was standing atop the baseball mountain as only the 18th man in the history of the game to record 300 wins in a career. The game also made him the oldest player to ever pitch a shutout in a major league game. The first player out of the dugout, the Yankees dugout the day, was his brother Joe, who made a mad dash to the mound to congratulate his best friend and hero Big Brother. When he gets out to the bump, he whispers in his brother's ear that he's got to tell him something about Dad. And alarmed, Phil is expecting the worst, but he's relieved when his brother sits him down after the game and tells him their father woke up from a dead slumber in the 7th inning, looked at their mother and said, Jesus, our boy is throwing a hell of a game today. We flew to Pittsburgh the next day, drove to the hospital in Wheeling to see him. When I walked into the room, I gently placed the game ball from the day before in his hands, and through the tears, a wide grin broke out on his face. It was a great father-son moment, one that I'll never forget. Phil Niekro, never satisfied, always looking for the next mountain to scale, sets his sight on Gaylord and Jim Perry's combined 529 wins, a then Major League record for siblings. Going into the 1986 season, the Niekros, Joe and Phil, were a mere 25 wins behind the Perrys with 504 to their combined total. Although the Yankees had decided to bring back Phil for the 1986 season, and despite a strong showing in spring training, the club releases his little brother on March 28th, citing his age as the reason. Phil ends up signing with the Cleveland Indians, and he goes 11-11, proving that there is something left in the tank. Joe picks up 9 wins with the Yankees, which left the brothers at 525 wins, still 5 short of the Perrys' combined win total. Another member of the Niekro family joined the professional baseball ranks that summer when the Indians drafted and signed Phil's nephew, Philip Dillamore, who was the son of his oldest sister, Phyllis. On June 1st, 1987, the Niekros' date with destiny comes to fruition when Phil picks up a 96 victory over the Detroit Tigers, finally passing the Perry's win total of 529. And Joe summed up the accomplishment best when he stated that 530 wins isn't just about Phil and I. It's a Niekro record. Yeah, the two of us accomplished it, but not without the strength and support of our family and the people that stood tall behind us. Finding themselves hopelessly out of the playoff hunt, the Indians trade Phil to the Toronto Blue Jays on August 9th, and is thrust once again into the spotlight for a pennant race. Phil knows that this is probably his last chance to chase that elusive World Series ring, but the storybook ending wasn't to be. Knucksie started 3 games for the Jays, losing the first 2 starts and not making out of the first inning of the final start. On August 31st, Phil is released, and the cool hand vet offers up a pragmatic view on his ousting, saying, "I've been released before, so that's nothing new. I just do the job I was capable of, and there are consequences for that." Writers around the country began paying the 47-year-old his just due and homage, surmising that this was surely the end of Knucksie's incredible run, lamenting the fact that the pitcher never got his shot at a World Series title. Fans in Atlanta, desperate to hold on to their past, they begin to wonder if there's any way to bring back the team's prodigal son for a swan song with the team where it all began. Discussions with the Braves, they wavered back and forth for about 2 weeks, and on September 23rd, the team finally announced that they had signed Niekro for $1 to start the final game of the season. On Sunday, September 27th, the Braves unretired his number 35 and sent Phil out to take the bump one last time in Braves gear to face the Giants. Things went well for Phil for 3 innings, but the top of the 4th was not kind to the future Hall of Famer as the Giants plated 2 runs and loaded the bases before manager Chuck Tanner walked to the mound and took the ball out of his hand. Niekro, for his part, protested the move vociferously, but Tanner had already made it up in his mind that he wasn't going to allow the proud warrior to be stuck in a position of taking a loss in his final stint. Tanner takes the ball, drapes his right arm over the pitcher's shoulder, and Phil could do nothing but drop his head and walk off the field amidst a standing ovation with the Braves holding a 5-2 lead. Unfortunately, Tanner made the call to the pen for reliever Chuck Carey, who immediately surrenders a grand slam home run to Katie Maldonado, and the Giants win the game over their NOS rivals 15-6. The next day, Niekro opined that I'm not embarrassed to get smacked around. I've been smacked around before. The most important takeaway today was just the opportunity to throw in a Braves uniform and perform for the city one more time. In January of 1983, in his first year of eligibility, Phil feels confident about his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame. After all, every pitcher who had amassed 300 wins or 3,000 strikeouts had made the Hall in their first year of eligibility at the time. Shockingly, Niekro's name only appears on 65.7% of the ballots, falling 40 votes shy of induction. The baseball world was shocked in December of 1993 when the Coors Brewing Company announced that it would sponsor an all-women's baseball team, the Colorado Silver Bullets, with Phil Niekro serving as the team manager and his son and brother, Joe, as coaches. Although the team was not a success on the field, it gained national respect and recognition for its pioneering achievements. The Silver Bullets played for 4 seasons before Coors pulled their sponsorship. In 1997, Phil finally gets a call from the Hall in his 5th year of eligibility, and he was always one of the most proactive and visible Hall of Famers, serving on the board of directors and as a member of the Veterans Committee. He was also an ardent participant in the Shrines Hall of Fame Classic weekend, where he usually served as one of the team's managers for several seasons. Phil and his wife Nancy moved to the retirement home in Flowery Branch, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. With their 3 sons, Philip, John, and Michael, fully grown men by now, Phil remained active in the game and became like this godfather of knuckleballers, mentoring pitchers like Tim Wakefield, Steve Sparks, and R.A. Dickey on the intricacies and nuances of the butterfly floater. He also instructed his nephew, Joe's son Lance, on the pitch, who gave the knuckleball a try in the minor leagues after spending parts of the 2003 to 2007 seasons as a first baseman for the Giants. Family was always the most important aspect in the Niekro brothers' life. I had a great connection with my family, Phil once said. My father was a coal miner. He took me fishing and hunting. There was a lot of love in my family. We went to church every Sunday together. I went to play bingo with my mother on Friday nights. We did everything as a unit, and they supported me 1,000% all the way. After a long battle with cancer, Niekro died in his sleep at the age of 81 years old on December 26, 2020. Years from now, someone walking through St. Anthony's Cemetery in Blaine, Ohio, and they may wonder about the tombstone for Phil's parents, Ivy and Phil Sr. The one with a baseball prominently displayed at the top with the number 539 carved into the marble. Well, anyone who knows the Niekro story, anyone who has listened to today's program, please explain to that person the significance in their hidden message. The Niekros hold a memorable piece of baseball heritage, baseball and family, the 2 most important aspects of their baseball story. Here's to the thought of Phil, Joe, and Hondo Havlicek, somewhere in heaven right now, enjoying each other's company like when they were kids back in Lansing, Ohio. I want to thank all of you nerds for lending me your ears this week, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me preach the gospel that saves on this worldwide platform. This is the point where I twist this big fat fatty around the horn like 543 Chipper to Blouser to Crime Dog, and I put a big, beautiful backwards K next to Phil Niekro's name in the scorebook. As Gunner has us racing up the tracks, desperately trying to get you back to your loved ones awaiting your return to Terrapin Station, let's take one last look at those so impressive stats and accolades that the great Phil Niekro left behind on his Hall of Fame resume. Okay. Philip Henry Niekro Jr., a.k.a. Knucksie. Born April 1st, 1939 in Blaine, Ohio. Died December 27th, 2020 in Flowery Branch, Georgia. Buried at Memorial Park South Cemetery in Flowery Branch, Georgia. Attended Bridgeport High School in Lansing, Ohio. On April 15th, 1964, the 25-year-old Phil Niekro becomes the 12,205th man in the history of the planet Earth to join the MLB fraternity when he makes his big league debut versus the San Francisco Giants. He faces one batter, Jim Davenport, who grounds into a fielder's choice. 24-year Major League career with the Milwaukee and Atlanta Braves, the New York Yankees, the Cleveland Indians, and the Toronto Blue Jays. A 97.0 pitcher's WAR, the 11th best WAR in the history of the game. 864 games, 716 starts, the 5th most starts amassed by a pitcher ever. 5,404 innings pitched, the 4th most ever. 318 wins, the 16th most victories in the game's history, and 274 losses, the 5th most losses ever. 3,342 strikeouts, the 13th most ever. 45 shutouts, good enough for the 29th best ever. 245 complete games, 85th most. 22,647 batters faced, the 4th most in baseball history. 1,809 walks allowed, the 3rd most ever, a 3.35 ERA, a 3.62 FIP, and a 1.27 WHIP. 115 ERA plus, 226 wild pitches, the 7th most in the game's history. 5-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glove winner, 1967 National League ERA title, 5-time National League Player of the Week, 1980 Roberto Clemente Award for his work off the field in the community. On August 6, 1984, the Braves retired his iconic number 35 for posterity. On April 10, 1986, a bronze statue in Niekro's likeness was unveiled at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium and has since been moved to the Braves' current home, Truist Park. His 121 victories after the age of 40 is the highest ever. He and his brother Joe had combined for 539 career victories, the most wins by brothers on the major league level. In 1997, Niekro received 380 votes out of a possible 473 ballots for an 80.3% clip in the 5th year of eligibility to take his rightful place among the baseball mortals at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seamen of all ages, this has been the story of Knucksie, the great Phil Niekro. And god damn, can that dude fill a stat sheet or what? I mean, he's like in the top 100 for nearly every important pitching stat. Unbelievable. And I find it remarkable that a dude that finished with 318 career wins at the age of 40. Yeah, he finished with 318 career wins, and at the age of 40, he was sitting on 198. And the one thing that I really remember about Phil Niekro as a young seamhead during his era was that, okay, you know how some people appear to get younger looking as they get older, while some people tend to age seemingly overnight? Well, Niekro was always one of those dudes who appeared old to me. Granted, my first real exposure to Niekro was around the 1979-80 season when he was going into his 40s. And honestly, to me, that guy just always looked like an old man. His appearance really didn't change much from 40 to 48. He kind of looked like the guy who might paint your mama's porch during the summertime. With one pitch, that dude plotted his course all the way to Cooperstown. Unbelievable. As my boy Gunner has us racing up the tracks to get all of you back to Terrapin Station, I can see the Phil Niekro bio getting smaller and smaller in my rearview mirrors. So, with that, I turn my steely-eyed glaze upon our never-say-die baseball hydra. I reach under my kimono, grab my trusty blade, and with one fell swoop, I chop the head off that beast, only to see two more baseball topics appear in its place. Next week's topic, what can I say? He was a true natural talent at whatever he picked up. You know the kind of guy I'm talking about. Chicks love him, dudes want to be him. 3-sport, high school prep athlete who would make his mark at the catcher's position for his hometown Minnesota Twins. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, I present to you one of the greatest all-around catchers who ever lived. He can defend his position at an elite level. He can hit for power and average. Like I said, a true natural. Next week, I present to you the baseball journey of Joe Mauer. But looky, ain't no hair on my chest, but I'm one tough cookie. That's another story for another pod here at Backwards K Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. I would never charge you for the baseball content offered up here at BKP. Please remember to share with your cement buddies. Rate my performance as you see fit. I'm honored to climb my pulpit with you and share the gospel of seams. I'll be up bright and early tomorrow morning, hitting the cage, putting in the work to perfect my craft. And I promise, nerds, I'll try to be better next week. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless and win the day. Parents, if you see your kid looking like a couch potato in front of the TV, they got their noses in their phones, do yourself a favor. Create some memories to last a lifetime. Grab yourself a couple gloves and a ball. Then go outside and play a game of catch. Me and my boy Charlie Gens, we're throwing up our Gunnar Hendersons high in the sky, y'all. That's our number 2s. As in peace. Joey Mauer is on deck, and he looks eager to break a bat off in somebody's ass. Should be fun. I'll catch up with you nerds on the flip. See ya!